Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for October 24th. May I get a motion to approve the board minutes from the October 10th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Steve, do we have any public participation?
We do not, Mr. Chairman.
Nothing, okay. So we'll go directly into our presentation action items. We have a request from the Event Planning Committee regarding the holiday stroll. Request to conduct the holiday stroll on Saturday, December 3rd, 2016, between the hours of 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Street closing to occur at 1 p.m. Actual event time is 2:45 p.m. with the start of the parade at the Civic Center.
A motion to approve, Mr. Chairman?
Any discussion?
The action items?
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. Request to close Main Street to vehicular traffic from Yale Ave to Richardson Ave / Lincoln Street, and to close Albion Street to vehicular traffic from Main Street to North Ave. The committee will meet with the town's logistic team as required prior to the event to ensure vehicular and pedestrian safety. So this is a continuation of another request from the Events Planning Committee for the holiday stroll.
Moved. So
Second.
moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And the third request of this same matter, request to utilize the area surrounding the Civic Center and part of Armory Street. At the commencement of the parade, there will be a rolling shutdown from the Civic Center to Lincoln Street, starting at 2:45 p.m., and Lincoln Street parking lot for stroll activities if needed.
Motion to approve?
Motion made.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So voted. We have a request from Sharon Gilly, Director of the Lucius Beebe Memorial Library, to accept and expend a gift or gifts to the library in the amount of $8,043.54 with thanks.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So voted. So we're ahead of the game with regard to the public hearing, so should we move right into personnel and appointments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a number of appointments to various committees and councils. We have a request for a one-day liquor license for Early Harvest Diner at 25 Broadway for a Christmas party event on December 22nd, 2016, from 6 p.m. until 11 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So voted. Okay, so we will move into the appointments for the various boards. I can go through this whole list, and it's fairly lengthy. Is there any discussion to start off with that anybody?
How are you going to, we're going to approve each letter at a time, B, C, D, E, or?
I'm open to suggestion on how we.
I say we do each letter one at a time.
I'd like to
so-
go committee by committee.
Okay.
Yeah, how about I start this one?
Well, I'll read it. So, item B, appointments to the Event Planning Committee. We have Mr. John Ross of 1 Eaton Street, Miss Ally Muniz of 9 Pittman Avenue, and Rada Frockelstein of 9 Rochelle Drive.
I move we approve the slate.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We have an appointment to the Recreation Commission, Mike Boudreau of 276 Albion Street, and Frank Leone of 17 Franklin Street.
I move we approve the slate.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So voted. Appointment to the Wakefield Cultural Council, Joy Schilling.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So voted. Appointment to the Council on Aging, Tom Coffin.
I move we approve Tom Coffin.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So voted. Appointments to the Bylaw Review Committee, Daniel Lieber of 1 Elm Street, Bronwyn Della Volpe of 8 Cyrus Street, Jason Doucette of 75 Montrose Avenue.
I move we approve Dan Lieber and Jason Doucette.
Second for discussion.
Motion made and seconded. It's discussion.
Right now, there are multiple on both of the list, this one and the next one. Are we just going to go with the two? So we're just going to go, that's what the motion is?
For F. Yep, Dan Lieber and Jason Doucette.
Okay.
There's a motion on the floor to approve Mr. Lieber and Mr. Doucette. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Was
Should
it
we finish discussion?
Continue discussion, I'm sorry.
So this is difficult for me because I'm not a huge fan of Bronwyn Delavope because of how I've seen her behave in town on certain issues. But we've told people that are squawking, and I view her differently perhaps than others, but that they should get involved. I would hope that anyone running doesn't have a personal agenda, doesn't have an axe to grind, isn't there to make it about themselves, that they're doing it because they want to help Wakefield, that they don't have a singular agenda. I am concerned about this person, but part of me also is hesitant in not voting for her simply because I may not be a fan. So, and I agree with everything Brian may say soon or is thinking. But I don't want my own personal feelings about how I think this person acts when I've seen them speak at town meetings and other places to necessarily color my vote. So I would probably vote to include Delavope in this group. As painful as that feels.
I agree with Ann, with her reasoning, and I feel like we should do this.
Further discussion. Tony?
Just curious, how many people are on the bylaw review committee?
None.
None?
This is a committee that's appointed every year ending in an 8, or has to complete their work every year ending in a 7. I'm sorry. A 2 or 7. One. So there is no one on it right now. This would be a committee that would do its job and then be disbanded.
And it can still be opened up. This isn't
Could
the
still-
end
you could
closing
still
of
add
the
something.
committee.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
This bylaw committee is just for 1 year, right?
Well, it depends how long it takes them to do their work and bring a recommendation back to this board, and then probably to town meeting if there's any bylaw suggested changes.
Because I want to make sure that other people have the opportunity, which has been lacking for a long time. Okay.
Further discussion. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to appoint just Mr. Lieber and just Mr. Doucette. There is a second for discussion, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4. Pete, did you vote?
I was with Brian.
Okay, so 4 to 2. That motion does not carry.
That was a 4 to 2 with 7 of us here.
Oh, I didn't vote.
What?
I don't have to
It doesn't
vote.
have to vote. Tiebreaker.
What do you mean when that motion does not carry? Only those two can go on?
Well, that motion,
Nobody.
Brian's motion didn't carry.
Oh, okay, all right,
Nobody's on right now.
okay.
Does somebody care to make another nomination?
I move we approve Jason Doucette.
Is there a
One at a
second?
time.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I move we approve Dan Lieber.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So voted.
I move with some trepidation, and I am hoping it will not come back to haunt the bylaw review committee, but I have faith in those that will be involved, Mr. Mullen, that Bronwyn Delavope be placed on the bylaw committee.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
I'd like to speak on the motion. So,
For discussion, sure.
yeah, just want to just explain my position. And you suggested that, geez, you didn't want to let personal feelings based on how you've seen the person behave and their motives and all that. I would suggest that none of that is personal. It's actual just knowledge. And if you've had the objective facts and you've witnessed this person act as a self-appointed watchdog in the town who takes the facts of the good things people in this town are trying to do, who are actually volunteering, like people on this board and other boards, are trying to do the right thing in this town, have a vision for this town. And this is a person who, by self-proclamation, decides, I will twist facts, I will disseminate lies to the public, and I will deceive people into doing what she wants to do for the sake of, I believe, just her own grandeur, and not in the best interest of the town. And I have a very, very hard time approving or appointing somebody who I don't believe acts in the best interest of the town to any committee on this town, and in the town that's of any importance. So I really strongly, it's not personal, it's not emotional, it's, hey, we want good people to step up and do things in this town. And when we tell people, hey, you know, all you do is complain, why don't you get involved? Run for election, okay? Run in an open election in this town for an open seat on a board or a contested seat on a board. Run and see what your peers in the town think. If they think it's a good idea and they want you to represent them, then you have earned that and you're entitled to that. But I think, knowing what we know, I would ask yourself, if she ran in a regular election and her name were on the ballot and you walked in your booth in private, would you put your pen down or whatever device and cast a vote? If you wouldn't there, why would you do it here? I'm not afraid of the camera. This is reality. This is life. There are people in this town that count on us, on the Board of Selectmen, to do the right thing and make smart decisions for the people of the town. I think this is kowtowing to what you know will be a disaster. You know what the motives are. We've seen it all for years. From Shaw's being built, years and years. It's been a decade of the same thing over and over again. How can anybody in good conscience say, this is the right thing to do for the people of Wakefield? So I strongly oppose the motion.
So, yes, Tony.
Mr. Councilman, do we have the opportunity to recall a person on this committee if we seem fit?
The appointing authority always has the legal authority to remove somebody from a committee. However, whenever a member of a committee is removed because of the substance of their votes, they have a good cause of action for violation of their First Amendment rights. In fact, the only good reason, legally safe reason, to remove somebody from a committee is if they violate procedures. If they fail to show up when they're supposed to, if they are obstreperous and they don't allow the meeting to occur in an orderly fashion, that kind of thing. I would never recommend that any of my boards remove anybody from a subordinate board for the substance of their views or their votes.
I'll just say, if you don't need anything more, how about the fact that the question we need answered before we approve this person is, can we remove her? Can we change our mind later? What more do you want to know whether or not it's the right thing to appoint somebody?
Ann?
Tom, I have a question, or Steve. Only 3 people does worry me for the size of that. Do you think there's a chance we will get more names? I mean,
I'll find you names.
I'm just concerned with,
I will say that this has been advertised for a long time. It was on the website, it was on Facebook, town's Facebook page. I think we started advertising this in the newspapers when, beginning in the summer sometime. Yeah, it has been advertised for a while, and that, we got three people.
How many people are supposed to be on the committee? Minimum
There
of
is no
3?
number.
There's no number? How many more do you want? We'll have them in the morning.
I do think a bigger board, though, it
Yeah,
helps.
I would agree.
Absolutely.
3 people is dangerous.
And-
Choose even more than
Must have the right people.
Can we put this vote off?
we can table again.
You have already appointed 2 members.
Oh,
I guess
So what?
you could reconsider, or you could just keep the 2 that you have.
Phyllis?
I'm sorry, but I watched everything with Shaw's, and I know Rowan Delavolpe doesn't agree with what we do. I mean, but that's her right and her privilege. This is how I feel. I might not like what she does, I might disagree what she does, but she has a right to do or speak however she wants. It might be anything that I don't like, and I don't think we have the right to take her off this board for those reasons. That's my opinion.
Let me just, because there's an important thing invoked there. I think everybody has the right to speak. I welcome the discourse. I don't welcome dishonest discourse and the dissemination of lies and deceit to the public, who relies on people who are in appointed office and elected office to tell the truth and present a fair case. That's part of our job. It's part of what we agree when we're sworn in. And I think the demonstrated history of distorting facts and deceiving the public makes somebody unfit to serve on a board. So people who behave with proper discourse, with integrity and honor, should absolutely have the right to speak their mind. And she will continue to have the right to speak her mind. The question is, do we elevate the status to something official? And I really, since we know what we're dealing with, I just strongly discourage.
I've been silent on this, and I just want to weigh in. There's often opinions at town meeting I disagree with. I would tend to agree with Phyllis on this. I feel very strongly that, I may not like it, I may not agree with it, and I may think it's a distortion of the facts, whatever, but again, this is a democracy, and everybody has a right to their opinion.
And not everybody has the right to serve on a board. You need to be appointed, you need to be vetted by an appointing authority. So we're not putting a muzzle on somebody. We're not saying, hey, when we say no tonight, you can no longer write articles in the newspaper. You can't form the Wakefield Civic League. You can't have your own public forums. It's not that. It's are we doing our job right by appointing any Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes through the board? Why do we appoint people? Why isn't it just the first 3 people that sign up? What the hell are we exercising? What duty are we doing to this town by just saying, well, we've got 3 names, we'll just throw them on there? I think we have a responsibility, especially when we know something about somebody, to say, hey, this isn't right. That's all. What else are we doing? We're just lemmings then. We'll just sit here and vote yes. I hope the next 12 are great too. So I think we really need to step up and consider what we're doing and what we're charged with doing.
Refresh my memory, has somebody made a motion to appoint her? And you made the motion. Is there a second?
Yes.
Any further discussion?
Well, I'm not a lemming, I would suggest.
I wouldn't
I'm not
either.
just throwing.
My apologies. It's
But,
just-
well, I understand, and I understand how you took more of the heat and more.
It's not
of
about
the-
that. It's really not.
But it's
So I know I
not-
took heat, but I can't believe we're about to appoint somebody who we know deceives the town.
Well, I'm just thinking, can she do harm on this committee?
Well,
It's
that's a great
bylaw-
standard for appointing somebody.
Well, we've appointed other people that I've rolled my eyes at,
Right.
frankly. I think, believe me, I'm not thrilled, I'm not happy necessarily, because
Then-
I have
then vote
seen
no.
her distort facts. But I don't think she will be allowed to do that on this committee. And it's a bylaw review committee. She's not going to be creating new laws. She's not going to be allowed to do that. So let's see, let's see if she can be productive. And as I said, it's with a very hesitant yes that I'm going to vote for my motion.
Motion on the floor. Is there further, Paul?
Just one thing, I mean, everyone has had a little bit to say, and I pretty much agree with everyone. But I'm going to go back to Phyllis, I'm going to go back to Ian on one comment. We've been preaching to the choir for I don't know how long to ask people to put their names on committees, new people on the committees, instead of having the same people on the committees, okay? So we started this and we put this out and people have put their names on. Granted, we may not always like the ones that we see on there. We may think that they're going to do harm, and they probably could do harm, okay? But I just don't know how we can say with the right mind that we're,
Because you just said, we might think they're gonna do harm. I don't know how you can say, well, then that's the right person, we should appoint them. This isn't personal. It's not about squelching somebody's right to speak. It's about, you know what you're doing here. You're all and saying, I don't know, I'm very hesitant, I don't want to do it, I think it's wrong. You're saying this person might do harm. Tony's saying, is there any way we can remove this person once we find out we made a big mistake?
Okay,
Man,
so-
what else do you need?
So let me go back to what I was going to say. Okay, my statement wasn't a direction towards a specific individual, it was a generalization. So let's remove the specific Bronwyn discussion and just say.
I think that's asinine. We should talk about the person who's on the table. There's a motion to appoint Bronwyn. What do you think about that?
Well, she put a name out there just like everyone else did. So,
All right,
she's
all
got a
right,
chance.
all right. Let's keep the discussion moving here. Is there anyone else that has who hasn't spoken that would like to speak on this? Motion on the floor to appoint, is in the second, who seconded the motion?
Tony did.
Tony? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 2 opposed. Motion carries. Okay, next up,
I think you need to go to the.
public hearing. We're late for the public hearing.
Okay.
Can I get a motion to go into public hearing, what is the,
What about the check?
For tax classification.
for tax classification, but with,
No.
no, okay. Can I get a motion to go into public hearing for the public hearing for tax classification? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? We gotta go roll call, please. Phyllis?
Yes.
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 Aye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me lighten the mood with a little tax classification presentation, a little icebreaker here before we move on to the rest of your business. I have with me this evening Chairman of the Board, Sebastian Tyne, and longtime board member Jane Daddario. Walter Schofield, our newest member, happens to be traveling for business and couldn't make it this evening. And we don't get to this point in the assessing calendar without the help of my staff, Scott Morrison and Gail Nardone. So here is classification for fiscal year 2017. The requirements by the Board of Selectmen are the selection of a minimum residential factor, a selection of an open space discount, granting or rejection of a residential exemption, and granting or rejection of a small commercial exemption. Minimum residential factor, to illustrate how it works. If the board did not adopt any type of shift in the tax rate, the minimum residential factor would be 1. That would yield a single tax rate estimated to be about $14.83. You arrive at that by taking the tax levy by the total taxable value of the town, and you end up with the one tax rate for commercial, industrial, personal, and residential properties. However, Chapter 200 does allow us to shift the tax burden onto commercial properties by adopting a factor of less than 1. Historically, Wakefield has chosen the maximum allowable shift factor to afford residential taxpayers the lowest share of the tax burden allowed by state law. And here's a note about the tax levy. For the past several years, the Board of Selectmen has opted to raise the tax levy at only 2% versus 2.5%. For fiscal 17, through a discussion with this board and this board's prior action, that factor will be 1.5%. By not raising this additional $628,000 of tax levy, the residential tax rate is reduced by 12 cents, and the commercial, industrial, personal rate is reduced by 24 cents. It translates into about a $60 average savings for single-family homeowners and a $300 savings for CIP classes of properties.
When you say $60 versus if we had gone the full 2.5, they're not
Yes.
gonna get a $60 a year break net, year over year.
Nope, it's built in. By that action of only going up 1.5%,
We're raising it $60 per household less than we could.
yes. This chart illustrates minimum residential factor options at a couple of intervals. You see a single tax rate would be $14.83 across the board, and going up to a shift factor of 1.75, which again, historically, this board has chosen to do. Estimated tax rate would be $13.03 residential and $25.95 commercial. The average single-family value this year in Wakefield, for assessment purposes, will be $471,800. You can see the effects shifting has on a single-family tax bill. At a factor of 1, the tax bill would be just under $7,000. At a factor of 1.75, average tax bill comes out to $6,147. That shift alone saves the average single-family taxpayer in Wakefield approximately $850. The average commercial value is $1,241,100. And as you can see, the commercial tax rate will go up. The corresponding tax bill will be approximately $32,200. At the maximum allowable shift, with a selected minimum residential factor of .878701, our estimated tax rates will be, again, $13.03 residential and $25.95 commercial. Little note here, those could change by a penny due to rounding through the tax recap approval process at the Department of Revenue. This chart outlines the change in some important numbers on properties from one year to the next. For fiscal 16, the average single-family value was a little over $440. It's up 7.1% to $471,800. The residential tax rate went from $13.49 to $13.03, a decrease of 46 cents. Average tax bill went up 3.46%, or $206. Average commercial value went up 5.5%. The tax rate went down by $1.08, and the average commercial tax bill is only going up 1.26%, or about $400. Fiscal 2017 is the third full year of the debt exclusion for the Galvin Middle School. The debt exclusion adds a little over $2.4 million to our 2017 tax levy. It adds 47 cents to the residential tax rate, or $222 to the average single-family tax bill. It adds 94 cents to the CIP rate, or $1,167 to the average commercial tax bill. The sales activity in Wakefield from calendar year 14 to 15, I should let you know that the fiscal 2017 assessments for single-family homes are based on sales during calendar year 2015. So in 2015, we had a couple less sales than 14. The days on market is within 5 days, 45 versus 50. The average sale price in 2014 was just under $470, and for 2015, it's just about $493,000, or a change of 4.9%, and this data comes to us from the MLS Real Estate Listing Services. Open space discount is defined as land which is not otherwise classified and which is not taxable under provisions of Chapter 61A or 61B, or taxable under a permanent conservation restriction, not held for the production of income, but maintained in an open or natural condition which contributes significantly to the benefit and enjoyment of the public. A maximum exemption of 25% may be adopted. However, the town has never voted a discount for open space since no properties in town have been identified to fulfill this section of the law. A residential exemption. It's only been adopted by a handful of communities, including Boston, Cambridge, Chelsea, and Brookline. My quick review of what it would look like if adopted to the town, the tax rate would go from $13.03 to $15.85 before discount, because the residential exemption is a shift among the residential class only. So the residential rate is the one that pays for it. There's a break-even point estimated to be about $540,000, so every home in town, approximately 21% of the homes valued above that, would be paying for the exemption for homes that are lower than that. Most homes in Wakefield are owner-occupied. Having worked in Chelsea, We have about 60% residential property over there. It's, memory serves, about 65% owner-occupied, so you have a lot of investment properties, non-owner-occupied, that paid for the exemption over there. And a small commercial exemption. Excuse me. An exemption of up to 10% of the property valuation for commercial properties only. Eligible businesses cannot have more than 10 employees as certified for the Department of Employment and Training. Building value cannot exceed $1 million. Once a business in a building, one business in a building could not qualify unless every other business qualified. The exemption does go to the building owner. I do throw this out that the assessing department is unaware of any businesses meeting these requirements. Every year, we see a list of the Department of Employment and Training. Some of the questions I have, well, my dentist owns this building. It's valued at $600,000, and he has 6 people working. Well, the way his employees are recorded to his business, they may not appear on that list. They may be paid as contractors or some other vehicle by which they get paid, and so they don't appear on the list. 2017 tax rates aren't out yet, but 2016 tax rates, if you look at our average single-family tax bill, we're at $5,941. Saugus always beats us because they also shift to 175%, but a majority of their tax base is supplanted by Route 1. Stoneham and Melrose came in a little bit less, but hey, it's Stoneham and Melrose. It's not Wakefield.
It says that on our town seal, you know.
It should. This next slide shows the shift capacity of each town and what they adopted. As you can see, Wakefield, 175. Linfield can go to 1.5, and they only go to 1.18. Reading could go to 1.5, but for some reason, the assessor over there doesn't get it and only goes to 1.0. And you can see the shift rates for Saugus, Stoneham, with the proportional shares before and after of residential versus commercial. Average single-family value from 2006 to now. So the only thing to note, really, the average tax bill, the average single-family tax bill has increased at an average of approximately 4.46%. And here's a listing of the vast changes in commercial property tax bills from 2003 to 2017. Perhaps I should standardize and use the same starting point on both. I'll make a note of that for next year. That's all I have tonight, folks. I'd be happy to answer any questions whatsoever.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Hey, just one thing I'd like to point out is, you know, I'm in favor of the smaller tax increase. While it's couched in terms of a tax increase, we are technically saving the town, the taxpayers' money. I just think it's important to note that a few years ago, we went to the polls and asked the town, or to town meeting, wherever we went, I forget. But we went to the people and said, hey, can we raise your taxes? Can we do a debt exclusion? Which I think raised the average median tax bill for a household to $222. And now you're saying that, hey, we're gonna forego the extra 60 that we normally would have seen as an increase right now. That's about 27% of that 222. So in essence, what we're saying is, trust us. If you, if the leaders of the town find a way to get a project done like the Galvin, we'll go to the taxpayers and say, hey, can you support this? If you do, when we have an opportunity to give back, we will. And I think that's there can only be a handshake on that or not. But it's a quid pro quo that I think is important to highlight. And that's what we're about to do here, assuming we approve it, is basically give back and eat into that $222 to the tune of 27% or $60 reduction. So I just want to point that out. I think it's smart on our part, and it's smart to recognize when we go to the taxpayers that we also give back. So, thanks.
Yeah, I've looked over this very carefully before, and I know you've done a really fantastic job. And as you know, my interest is in the people and lowering the taxes. I know over the last few years, we've been able to allow $300,000 or so a year in the hands of the taxpayers. And I really believe this because of the hard work of the my fellow members of the Board of Selectmen. I really believe this, and the Finance Committee, that we can up this to $28,000 for the year, okay? I know that we have a lot of things to do, like roads and parks and everything else, but like you say, we really need to think about the taxpayers. And I really see nothing wrong, and I'm proud of the fact that we trust the taxpayers and that we want to share with them in the savings. So I appreciate that. And the fact that it's 1.5% instead of 2.5%, and that they understand that, you know, your real estate goes up, everything goes up, you still have to pay money, but it's still a savings. And I appreciate all the hard work that you've done. And I thank my board members.
Thanks for your leadership.
Thank you.
I'll just chime in on that as well, Victor. Good job. And I'll just say, the fact that we're in a position to do this, the fact that, we put money in OPEB, we're putting money in capital, we have, extensive cash reserves, we're the envy of every town that I could compare to. Our neighbors are passing, or trying to pass, operational overrides. That, to me, is lunacy. Just trying to get by on your operational. I mean, to do a project like we did with the Galvin, where we cooperated with the state to get some of our tax dollars back from the state in the form of, and we only paid 50 cents on the dollar getting some of our money back, which was great. And we built green. I think what this reveals is this board has credibility. This board is serious about fiscal responsibility, and hats off to Steve. Steve's the leader of the town, and he helps put us in this position. Victor, you as well, and right down the line, we're being led in the right direction, and this is evidence. The fact that we do not have to raise taxes the full 2.5% in the state of Massachusetts, it's unprecedented. I don't know of any other towns that do it, but this is the second time we've done it within the last 5 years. And, I heard last time that the sky was going to fall if we didn't raise taxes the full amount. We're funding our schools, we're funding our police, we're funding our DPW. Hats off to this board and to Steve and to all of your staff and the school department, everybody who's involved, so. Do we need a vote on this?
Yes, we do. We need actually 4 votes. And because we had this tax classification hearing so quickly after another meeting from a Wednesday to a Monday to 2 Mondays, we're actually going to hear Victor's abbreviated again because the actual publication for the public hearing, although it was on social media and this board, did not get actually in the item in that legal form. So we can have the vote now, and then we can reaffirm that later. So I
Okay,
appreciate that.
so go ahead, Steve, go
So
ahead.
the first motion would be, if the board so desires, and thank you, Chairman Glenn, and thank you for the comments, to select a minimal residential factor of .878701.
So moved.
Motion made, seconded, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Unanimous.
Selection of an open space discount, I think Victor's suggestion is no.
Move that we do not adopt an open space discount.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor to not allow an open space discount?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. Can I get a motion for the granting of a...
Not
Go
to
ahead.
grant.
Not to grant the residential exemption, sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, so voted. And then the granting of the commercial exemption, not to
Not
grant, can I get a motion
So
not to
moved.
grant the...
So moved.
Yeah, small commercial exemption. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And I would ask the board that we reconvene on this issue on the 14th at 8 o'clock, and that you call a public hearing for that. If I could get that motion as well.
It's a little late, but.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, so voted.
Thank you.
Great, more camera time for me and my board, yeah.
Can I
Thank you
get
so
a
very much,
motion
folks.
to come out of public hearing? Thank you, Victor.
Move we,
Thank
and
you.
public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes, yes.
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 Aye.
Yes.
Okay, we are out of public hearing.
Peter said yes.
Next up, we're going back into, I think
Charter
we
Review Committee.
left off
Charter.
at the Charter Review Committee. The members that put their names forward: Andy Gray of 3 Highland Avenue, John Carney of 3 Coolidge Park, John DeTono of 14 Central Street, Daniel Lieber of 1 Elm Street, Ally Houghton of 20 Morgan Avenue, Bronwyn Della Volpe of 8 Cyrus Street, Maureen Butt of 894 Main Street, Jason Doucette of 75 Montrose Avenue, Eric Reed of 26 Crescent Street, James Lapry of 241 Salem Street, Christopher Fowley of 21A Summer Street, Susan Wetmore of 12 Sunset Drive. Ladies and gentlemen, I open it up. Ann, Ann, go ahead.
I would move that we do not appoint the 3 people that were on the bylaw committee because there's a redundancy there, and so that my motion would be to appoint Andy Bray, John Carney, John DeTono, Ally Houghton, Maureen Butt, Eric Reed, James Lapry, Christopher Fowley, and Susan Wetmore to the Charter Committee.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Yes.
I
Phyllis.
agree with him. Because I'm one of these people that believe, give everybody a break to go on different boards. I think sometimes we have too many people on too many boards, and we already have these 3 people on that board, and it, it's going to be a lot of the same kind of work. So I agree that, to make a motion to keep these, and to keep the 3, Daniel Lever, Brown Della Volpe, and Jason Doucette on the bylaw committee.
Thanks, Phyllis. Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So voted. Great.
Mr. Chairman, on this committee is going to have to do a lot of work. The Charter Review is a very important committee. We've got some great members on it. I would like to suggest to this board that because we have, I think there are going to be, 9 members of that committee that have been appointed, that we need, I think, a chairman that knows the kind of the landscape and has been around for a while, and I think it would serve the town very well if this board actually named a chairman for that committee so they get the ground running, and I can think of no better one. I would suggest to the board that John Carney of 3
I would
Coolidge
agree.
Park
I
would be a
move we
great.
appoint John Carney as chairman of the Charter Review Committee.
Second.
I strongly agree with that. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nice
Unanimous.
to finish on an easy one.
Hopefully Joe wants it.
I know, hopefully
It doesn't matter if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. Comments from the board? Phyllis?
Nothing tonight.
Brian?
Hey, I'll just reiterate my just because it's worth saying, because I'm sure it'll show up in the paper to the contrary tomorrow or someday. My opinions aren't about squelching speech. It's about, I think we have a duty to appoint people who will do the right thing for the town, who have the town's best interests at heart. And I think we've suggested around the table, even as we approved a person, that we had reservations about motivation, about behavior, about history, and whether whether that person would be fit to serve on that board, yet we approved it anyway. So, again, my point is, the issue is when you've got somebody who acts contrary to what we think are the town's best interests, or even, I shouldn't even say what we think, but I think that the decorum and approach to exercising that First Amendment right is one that I don't find fitting of somebody on a board member. I think it would be counterproductive to the board's progress, and that's why I was opposed to it. So,
Thanks.
that's it.
Ann?
I hope I'm not proven wrong by sticking my neck out a little bit for Ms. Della Volpe.
Nothing else?
That's it.
Paul?
I don't have anything else to add, but except Steve sent us an email regarding the Halloween event. Are you going to bring that up?
I was going to do that at the end.
Okay, never mind, then I have nothing to say, sir.
Tony?
Just remember that open voting is now, you can vote, so we have an election coming up in a couple of weeks. Whether you like the candidates or not, take advantage of, voting, go down to the town clerk's office, and remember, no on four. It's not good for anybody.
What are you showing over there? What does that say?
Question 4, Phyllis.
Peter?
Just one thing, Paul, at the last meeting, what did you bring up for Main Street? Was it just the speeding that was taking place on Main Street? You were hoping that there would be a way to put up some more, just a
Mr. Mayor
crosswalk?
was going
The
to look
barrels.
into the,
Okay, the
Pedestrian
barrels.
barrels, yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I just noticed, I got some calls on that the other day, too. It just, it kind of tied into the last meeting, but it just seems like it's getting to be a little bit of a speedway, so.
Tom?
Nothing, thanks.
Steve?
A couple of very quick things. The Haunted Happenings, which is happening on Sunday, October 30th, this board was gracious enough to allow for the closing of Albion Street for this event. And fortunately, this event has taken off where almost every merchant on Main Street who is normally not open on Sundays are opening Sundays for this event. So we have this logistic meeting that was mentioned in the holiday stroll approval. Before every main event, we sit down with all of the major departments to make sure all of our ducks are in a row with the people putting on the event. What do they need for it? And it has worked out pretty well. It became very evident at that meeting last week that, on Friday actually, that we need to have Main Street closed on Sunday for this event. Like I said, virtually every merchant is opening up for the event. The ones that aren't, like the banks, are closed anyway. Chief Rick Smith is very concerned about the safety of young children, and you think about a Halloween event, it's young children in costumes that are running to get a candy bar. They're not going to stop, and they're going to run away from their parents. So I would really suggest that the board allow the Main Street to also be closed from 12 to 4 on that day.
You need a
Looking for a
vote?
motion, yes.
Can we get a motion?
so moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed?
Okay.
So voted.
A couple more things. Selectman Longo mentioned early voting. Early voting started today in the Commonwealth, in Wakefield as well, and there were people lined up at Town Hall this morning before we opened at 8 o'clock. And there were over 400 people that came in and voted today on early voting. The Town Clerks Association figures on that is estimating that 25% of the electorate, which means that we're expecting 4,000 people in Wakefield to take advantage of early voting. So if today's an indication, that's what's going to be happening, and the poor people in the clerk's office have their roller skates on today. So, but it was nice to see a lot of people coming in, so if you are sick of the whole election out there, you don't want to pay attention anymore, you can vote early and then you'll be done with it. A couple of other things, Mr. Chairman, we have 2 public forums coming up on November 1st at the Wakefield High School Theater, at the Savings Bank Theater located at the Wakefield High School at 7 p.m. We are bringing back Paige Barringer of Fine Point Associates, which did that downtown assessment, to have a community meeting on that, public participation. The MAPC will be there. Main Street's program is going to be there as well, kind of talk about how this all works together. So we're looking forward to that. And if that isn't enough for you, on November 17th, we are kicking off the Albion Arts Corridor Study with the MAPC, taking those ideas that they'll get at the other meeting, and that's November 17th at 7 o'clock at the Galvin Middle School cafeteria. In between that, we'll have town meeting on November 7th, and so we get some busy things and some great things going on for the town of Wakefield. And Mr. Chairman, I want to wish you luck in running the New York Marathon for the second time. When you run through Little Italy, you could say that you know me. That might help you out a little bit, maybe not. But,
May make them run faster.
May make you run faster.
I'll stop and have some food.
I would like
Yeah.
to ask a question about this early voting. To do early voting, do you have to have a reason why you cannot
No.
vote on a regular day?
No, that is the difference. That's an absentee ballot. You
I
have to have a
understand
reason.
that, so what if everybody decides, thousands of people decide to go down there and vote? How do we take care of that?
Well, we took care of 400 today. There's a 2-week period, so we're hopeful that all 1,000 won't come up at once, but this is what the state passed. The state passed this to increase voter turnout, so We had 400 people there today, and I think we'll have a couple hundred there tomorrow, and we open on a Saturday for voting. It's really to give people more opportunity to vote.
Anything else, Steve?
adjourned.
Is it done?
You done?
I'm done, yes.
Motion to adjourn. Second. Is there a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.